Hi, I'm Robin from Hansoft. In this video, I'll give you a few tips and tricks about how to get the most out of Hansoft as a regular user in a project. I will show you a few basic tips, how you can use the product backlog more efficiently, so let's get to it. We'll start with some handy shortcuts. This is the to-do list, the view that most team members use to update their work on a daily basis. So I have a task here. It's not really well defined and I want to see it in its context. I select my task and press Ctrl G, which is the shortcut for Go To in Project View. This shortcut will bring me to it in the context of the plan, a sprint backlog in this case. If I press Ctrl G again, I'll be taken to the QA or product backlog view depending on where the item originated from. Ctrl G once more, and I'm back in the planning view. It's essentially a quick way to jump between views. If I want to break down work further, I can break it down using the shortcut Ctrl-Shift-N. Now look at this release. If I want to find it in the timeline view, I select it and then I press Ctrl-S. This works well for everything that is represented in the timeline view: releases, sprints, scheduled tasks, and sub-projects. Now let's look at a few tips for lazy users, such as myself. You can batch update items using the item details window. Just select a bunch of items, and now I can, for instance, give all of these the estimate 1 day. By the way, this view that we call item details can be placed on the right side of the screen as well, which works much better on certain screens. Just pick what suits you best. This change is completely personal. Speaking of personal changes that won't affect anyone else, you might not need all of the information in these projects yourself. You can, among other things, control the order of the projects so that the ones that you are in most frequently are at the top. Change the order of the columns, both here and in the item details pane. Right-click on any column and choose to hide it. And you can also use the show options up here so that you don't have to see things that are completed, archived, and so on. One really useful setting is to hide the things that you cannot edit. Using all of this, you can create a clean view for yourself without clutter. Some users want to have several of these views. That's what user view presets are for. You create these under the More menu. We have a separate video that digs deeper into how to set these up if you need more details. Now, let's go over a few tips for the product backlog. Let's say I want to expand a whole section. Instead of clicking to open up each section, I just mark the ones I want to expand fully and then press Ctrl and right arrow to expand them. Using Ctrl and left arrow will collapse them again. Alright, so when I add a new feature in the product backlog, I always flag them as a user story. This gives me a field where I can add more details around this. One of the main reasons to flag something as a user story is so that I can keep the item name short. Instead, I use this field to add a little bit more detail, such as for whom I'm making this feature and what the expected value is. When I have this many features to pick from, prioritizing them is a key activity. For this, there is a specific view, the priority view. In this view, you can drag and drop items to control their priority. Note that this does not affect where the item is in the hierarchical view. In case I only have access to a specific section of the backlog, I can right-click on that section and select View Selected Only to filter. Now I want to talk about a few simple, concrete practices that can help you be more efficient in how you use Hansoft. If we look at a user story in the product backlog, Some teams tend to break it down a bit too much. You should really try to keep the information in the product backlog on a level of detail that your customer gets value from once it is delivered. Instead, break it down into more detailed tasks, if needed, first in the planning view. With this practice, you will separate the technical details from the business value discussion. In the product backlog, you have the product backlog priority, which represents business value, and in the sprint backlog, you have the sprint priority, which represents your technical dependencies of the order in which you must do things to complete all of it. Ask the team to answer a very simple question. How much time is spent each day in the to-do list to update their status? If they spend more than a minute every day for just the status update, you are probably breaking down work into too much detail. During your next retrospective, discuss how you can keep the level of detail in Hansoft on a level so that it is easy for the team to update it. Often, there are issues with too much multitasking. Then address that issue to keep everyone focused. One successful practice we've seen is to define a few simple housekeeping rules around Hansoft. Put them on a piece of paper or in the overview section of Hansoft. Try to keep them short and simple. And that's it. You're now one step closer to becoming an epic Hansoft ninja. Please reach out to us at support@hansoft.com with your tips, tricks, and feedback on how we can make your life easier.